Following Pompey's escape to Greece and the conclusion of the siege of Brundisium, Caesar set his sights on consolidating his control over the western provinces, particularly Spain. Spain was vital to Pompey's campaign, as it housed several legions loyal to him, commanded by his lieutenants Lucius Afranius and Marcus Petreius. To secure a more dominant position in the civil war, Caesar knew he needed to neutralize these forces before following Pompey to Greece. This set the stage for the Battle of Ilerda, a crucial encounter that would test both military strategies and the logistical acumen of both sides. In the early spring of 49 BCE, Caesar marched his forces across the Pyrenees Mountains into Spain, an arduous task that showcased his determination and the loyalty of his troops. His goal was the city of Ilerda, modern-day Lleida, which was strategically located along the river Sicarus. Ilerda was an important stronghold for Pompey's forces and would become the epicenter of the coming battle. Caesar's army consisted of 6 legions, roughly 40,000 men, including cavalry and auxiliary forces. Afranius and Petreius, although experienced commanders, had a difficult task ahead of them. They commanded 5 legions, but they were positioned defensively, waiting for Caesar to make his move. Upon reaching Ilerda, Caesar quickly realized that the terrain surrounding the city favored the defenders. The city itself sat atop a hill, with the Sicarus River providing a natural barrier to the north. Afranius and Petreius had fortified their position on higher ground, overlooking the river and the surrounding plains. Their forces had established camps and were well provisioned for a protracted standoff. Caesar knew that a direct assault would be too costly, especially given the terrain. Instead, he sought to outmaneuver his enemies and force them into a vulnerable position. To achieve this, Caesar began constructing a series of fortifications and trenches on the lower plains near the river. His plan was to cut off Afranius and Petreius from their supply lines, forcing them to either surrender or engage in battle on less favorable terms. The key to this strategy was the control of the Sicarus River, as it was the primary source of water and supplies for both sides. Caesar ordered his engineers to build a bridge across the river, allowing his troops to cross and threaten Afranius and Petreius's supply routes. As the battle progressed, the situation became a test of logistics and endurance. Caesar's forces, though determined, were initially at a disadvantage due to heavy rains that caused the river to swell. The rising waters washed away the bridges and made it difficult for Caesar to resupply his troops. This led to a temporary crisis within his ranks, as food and provisions ran dangerously low. The morale of Caesar's men began to falter, and it seemed that Afranius and Petreius might be able to hold out indefinitely. Afranius and Petreius, however, failed to capitalize on Caesar's precarious situation. Rather than launching a counterattack or attempting to break the siege, they remained on the defensive, content to wait out the enemy. This hesitation would prove costly. Caesar, ever the master of adaptation, quickly found a solution to the rising waters. He ordered the construction of makeshift rafts and boats to ferry supplies across the river, restoring morale and ensuring that his army remained well provisioned. Caesar's ability to maintain the logistical support of his army, even in the face of natural obstacles, was a testament to his leadership and the ingenuity of his engineers. With his supply lines restored, Caesar resumed his strategy of outflanking Afranius and Petreius. He ordered his cavalry to cross the river and cut off the road leading south toward the Ebro River, which was the main supply route for the Pompeian forces. This maneuver was successful, and Afranius and Petreius soon found themselves in a dangerous position. They were now effectively cut off from reinforcements and supplies. The situation grew increasingly desperate for the Pompeian commanders. Realizing that they could no longer hold their position indefinitely, Afranius and Petreius decided to abandon Ilerda and withdraw southward in the hopes of joining forces with other Pompeian legions. However, Caesar was quick to respond. He ordered his legions to pursue the retreating army, cutting off their escape route and forcing them into a series of skirmishes along the way. These skirmishes further weakened the Pompeian forces, who were now running low on supplies and morale. The decisive moment came when Afranius and Petreius attempted to cross the river at a narrower point, hoping to escape Caesar's pursuit. Caesar anticipated this move and had already positioned his cavalry to block the crossing. Trapped and outnumbered, Afranius and Petreius had no choice but to surrender. Caesar, in a display of his usual clemency, spared the lives of the Pompeian soldiers, incorporating many of them into his own army. He also pardoned Afranius and Petreius, a move that further solidified his reputation as a merciful leader, even in the heat of civil war. The surrender at Ilerda marked the end of organized Pompeian resistance in Spain, and Caesar now had full control of the Iberian Peninsula. This victory was significant not only for the strategic advantage it gave Caesar, but also for the psychological blow it dealt to Pompey and his supporters. By neutralizing Pompey's legions in Spain, Caesar had removed a key base of support for his rival, forcing Pompey to rely more heavily on the forces he was gathering in Greece. While the Battle of Ilerda was not as large or as bloody as some of the other battles in the Civil War, it was a masterclass in strategy and logistics. Caesar's ability to adapt to the terrain, manage his supplies, and outmaneuver his opponents demonstrated his brilliance as a commander. The battle also highlighted the importance of mobility and the use of cavalry in ancient warfare. Caesar's legions, though initially disadvantaged by the terrain and weather, ultimately triumphed through superior planning and execution. In the aftermath of the battle, Caesar consolidated his control over Spain, leaving behind garrisons to maintain order and ensure that the region remained loyal to his cause. With the western provinces secure, Caesar turned his attention to the next phase of the war, the inevitable confrontation with Pompey in Greece. The campaign in Spain had been a critical success, but the final showdown with Pompey still loomed on the horizon. The Battle of Ilerda may not be as well known as some of Caesar's other victories, but it played a crucial role in shaping the outcome of the civil war. By defeating Afranius and Petreius, Caesar removed a major threat to his campaign and ensured that Spain would not be a base for Pompeian resistance. It also demonstrated Caesar's willingness to show mercy to his enemies, a tactic that would serve him well throughout the war. For Caesar, Ilerda was another step toward ultimate victory, but for Rome, it was a reminder of the growing divide that threatened to tear the Republic apart.